Have you ever read or heard something Jesus said and thought, what does that really mean? His teachings are some of the most profound and transformative in history, yet they're also some of the most misunderstood. Today, we're diving deep into 10 of Jesus' most misunderstood teachings to uncover their true meaning and explore how they can bring clarity, purpose, and hope to our lives. Stick with me, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see faith, life, and yourself. One of Jesus' most quoted sayings is, "Turn the other cheek." At first glance, this might seem like a call to passivity, to let others walk all over you. But when Jesus spoke these words, he was teaching something far more radical. In his time, a slap on the cheek was less about violence and more about insult, a way to demean someone's dignity. By turning the other cheek, Jesus wasn't suggesting we become doormats. He was challenging us to break the cycle of retaliation. It's an invitation to respond to hostility with strength and grace, showing that our value isn't determined by someone else's actions. Another misunderstood teaching is when Jesus said, "If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off." This shocking statement has been interpreted literally by some, but Jesus wasn't advocating self-harm. He was using hyperbole to stress the seriousness of sin and the importance of removing anything in our lives that leads us away from God. It's a call to radical self-discipline, a reminder that nothing is worth keeping if it separates us from a life of purpose and holiness. When Jesus said, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth," many assume he meant weak or submissive people. But the word meek in the original Greek carries the idea of strength under control. It refers to those who are humble, gentle, and patient, not because they lack power, but because they choose to channel their strength for good. This teaching flips worldly values on their head, showing that true greatness comes not from domination, but from humility and self-control. One of the most challenging statements Jesus made was, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." Many take this to mean we should never form opinions about others or call out wrongdoing. But in context, Jesus was warning against hypocritical judgment, condemning others while ignoring our own faults. He wasn't saying we shouldn't discern right from wrong. He was calling us to examine ourselves first and approach others with compassion and humility. When Jesus said, "It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God," some have interpreted this as a condemnation of wealth itself. But Jesus wasn't saying that money is inherently evil. He was pointing out the danger of placing our trust in material possessions instead of God. Wealth can create a false sense of security and distract us from what truly matters. The good news is that Jesus followed the statement by saying, "With man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible," reminding us that God's grace makes the impossible possible. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you is another teaching that often feels impossible to live out. Many misunderstand this as a call to tolerate abuse or avoid conflict, but Jesus was teaching something far deeper. Loving our enemies doesn't mean excusing their behavior. It means refusing to let hatred consume us. It's about seeking their ultimate good and trusting that God's justice will prevail. This kind of love is transformative, both for us and for those who oppose us. When Jesus said, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily," it's often seen as a call to a life of suffering. But the cross wasn't just a symbol of pain. It was a symbol of surrender and ultimate purpose. To take up our cross means to align our lives with God's will, even when it's difficult. It's a call to let go of selfish ambitions and embrace a life of meaning and service. One of Jesus' most mysterious statements is, "The kingdom of God is within you." Some interpret this to mean that we are divine or self-sufficient, but that's not what Jesus meant. He was emphasizing that the kingdom of God isn't about physical boundaries or political power. It's about God's rule in our hearts and lives. When we live in alignment with His will, we become part of His kingdom, bringing His love, justice, and peace into the world around us. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven, is often misunderstood as a call to show off our good works. But Jesus wasn't advocating for self-promotion. He was encouraging us to live in such a way that our actions point others to God. It's about reflecting His goodness, not seeking personal recognition. When our lives shine with love, kindness, and integrity, we inspire others to see the beauty of God's character. Finally, when Jesus said, "You must be born again," Nicodemus, the man He was speaking to, was confused, and many of us still are today. Jesus wasn't talking about a physical rebirth. He was describing a spiritual transformation. To be born again means to start fresh, to leave behind our old ways and embrace a new life through faith in Him. It's about experiencing the renewal that only God can bring, a life filled with hope, purpose, and eternal significance. Each of these teachings challenges us to look beyond surface-level interpretations and dive into the deeper truths Jesus was revealing. They're not just words from 2,000 years ago. They're invitations to live with greater clarity, purpose, and love today. So, what do you think? Have any of these teachings taken on new meaning for you? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. By subscribing, you'll join a community committed to exploring faith, finding purpose, and growing together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.